All right, I want to talk about Manny. Manny was a film that I kind of saw by accident. I was setting myself up for like a break in that slot, but then I realized if I took a break there, then I wouldn't be able to see anything else for like 4 hours, and so I just sort of got over to the theater as quick as I could, and I got there in plenty of time. So Manny is a film about Manny Pacquiao, world famous boxer, probably the best boxer in the world, depending on who you're talking to. And the story just follows him. It's just a biographical documentary, and it just follows him from when he was a little kid, all the way up to essentially now. And the guy's just had an amazing life. So he starts out as just a little kid in is it the Philippines? I think.
I think so.
I'm going to say the Philippines. If Manny Pacquiao wants to hit me, I guess he will. So he starts out as a little kid there, working fishing villages, and so his uncle sort of starts teaching him to box just to give him something to do, and they find out he's really good at it. And he starts boxing at like 10 years old, and he's really getting good at it, and he's getting so good that he can't actually box against kids his own age. So he has to lie about his age.
Something about that sounds really wrong, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. So he lies about his age. He's basically 13 years old and tells everyone he's 16 and is beating 16-year-olds at 13. And just on and just keeps going and, gets over to the U.S. and starts boxing there, becomes a huge star very quickly, and is still boxing, in fact. He's actually he wasn't at the Q&A because he's training for a fight right now. So what I loved about this film was that it was really very personal. Manny Pacquiao himself actually did a lot of the narration. The film had a lot of like home movies of him. And by the way, he's a congressman.
Yeah.
In whichever country. Philippines. Yeah. Okay. You looked it up. Good.
Yeah, it was in the book. So
good. So he's a congressman in the Philippines now. And the film really follows his journey, and just it paints a really good picture of how big he is. So on days when Manny Pacquiao is fighting, there's no crime in the Philippines. Like literally, during the fights, there is no crime in the Philippines.
Wow.
Nothing happens. And the film shows these people in the Philippines, like just wherever there's a TV, they're gathering. And there's this section of the film where we're not watching the fight. We're watching the Filipinos watch the fight. And there's this guy, and he's just staring at the screen, and there's so much tension just watching his reaction to this fight. And I think it's a fight that Manny lost, and how much it affects the people when he wins and how much it affects them when he loses. And he's just a legend. And going back to the Philippines, like he still lives in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. He comes to America just to fight, essentially. It's amazing to see how huge an impact one person can have on an entire people, because they talk about how the Philippines aren't really known for much, but they've got the best boxer in the world, and they're so proud of that aspect of it. The only weird thing about the film, Manny Pacquiao narrates a lot of it, but then Liam Neeson narrates some of it. Not a lot of it, just like a few little sections, and I can't figure out why they didn't just have Manny narrate the whole thing.
Right.
I don't understand that. I think it would be better if he narrated the whole thing, because it's a very personal story. It's about him. It's like Manny was telling me his story personally, which I really appreciated. But I really liked it. I think it's definitely going to be. Oh, and that's the other thing. They did a really good job of. Because I thought I was going to go in and watch like a 30 for 30 documentary, like a sports documentary like that. It's not really a sports documentary. But the sections that were about the boxing, they did a pretty good job of showing the boxing, and they didn't really get into like why Manny is such a great boxer, at least as far as like technical boxing or anything like that. They just sort of talk about more how he's so ferocious and so tenacious that he can really take on just about anybody. They also did a really good job of placing him in history to talk about how, a lot of the big name boxers that we know, like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and Vander Holyfield, those guys, they were all heavyweights. They all fought in just one weight class.
Right.
Manny Pacquiao has titles in like 7 weight classes. So, sometimes he has to gain 15 pounds in a month or two to get into the weight class to fight this particular guy. And also really was interesting. It talked a lot about the business of boxing. There's sort of this there's this sort of dream fight in the boxing world where people want Manny Pacquiao to fight Floyd Mayweather, who's another boxer who a lot of people consider to be the best boxer in the world right now. But they won't fight, and the reason they won't fight is essentially business. Like Manny's manager doesn't like Floyd's manager, and so they can't make a deal to get this fight done. And so what happens a lot in the boxing world, the promoter. So the boxing promoter, he promotes several fighters, so he just pairs up his own fighters.
Okay.
It's almost like he has his own league, because then he gets 30% of both guys' money.
Yeah.
And so he gets double paid. And so it's interesting. There's certain members of Manny's training team that are very cagey about this, and some of them that are very open about this. So like his strength coach is very open about, here's why. It's because this manager will not let it happen. This promoter will not let it happen.
Yeah.
And he's the one making the deal, so it's never going to happen. And others are like, oh, well, yeah, maybe we'll work on the deal a little more and we'll figure it out. So it's a really interesting look at a lot of different aspects of that world.
Did they ask Manny the question?
No, they didn't. He's a lot of that stuff was sort of asked by in sports interviews and that sort of thing, like archival footage. And they asked him about that. And of course, he says the same things like, "Oh, I'd love to fight Floyd Mayweather. That'd be great. Let's do it. It's Floyd's fault, not mine." And then Floyd, they have interviews with Floyd from sports interviews, and he's like, "I want to fight Manny Pacquiao. Here's why." Blah blah. And it's like they're just sort of.
Yeah.
It's not those two that don't want to fight. It's the managers and the promoters that are causing the problem there. But anyways, Manny, very good documentary.
A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.